Welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers. This is episode 35, and I am Ryan. This is Jay.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi. We are talking about what's going on in our store this week.
Yep, we're at our kitchen table.
Yep, we are. It's very special.
So last week we talked about, or you guys talked about these things being slow.
Yes.
It's been slow for much of a month. And then this is a very good example of what selling on eBay is like. This has been probably one of our best weeks in the past 2 or 3 months. I think we made almost $2,500 in the past 7 days.
And several things that we're selling were large items.
Yep.
You know, it was like a couple really expensive items, several very expensive items just were selling like crazy.
We sold a saddle that we bought for $40 and we sold it for
$275. Yep, a horse saddle, a dressage saddle.
Right, and we sold that big sink. We bought a bunch of Kohler sinks that were new in the box. I mean, the boxes were damaged, but the sinks were new, and we sold one for $400.
Yeah.
That we bought for $15.
Well, it was actually $4.99, but it was free shipping.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then we sold a bunch of fabric for almost $500.
Yeah, we had found this fabric. We found these like big rolls of fabric, and they didn't look that big, but once we started unrolling them, it was just like hundreds and hundreds of yards of designer fabric for $5 a roll.
I think it was almost 300 yards, and it was different pieces, but some of them were very long, like 20 and 30 yards a piece.
Right.
And it was really nice upholstery quality. That's just an example of scavenging in unlikely places, and that is, you know, if you're just buying at Goodwill or Salvation Army or Savers.
Hint, hint, that's where my mom shops. Savers.
Those are all great places, you know?
Yeah,
but
right. They're more expensive and they're well shopped by other eBayers.
But, you know, you can get good deals there. But I guess we encourage people, if you have the time, because it's all about time, when you're just out and about, just stopping at random places, like we got that, it's fabric that we'll probably end up making almost $1,000 on.
Yeah. For
a $15 investment. We found it at like this place that is used building construction stuff.
Like old doors, old windows. It wasn't the Restore, but it was a place like it.
Right, and I guess what happened was just someone died and their house got, emptied and brought to this place, and they didn't know what to do with this fabric, and they were happy that we were taking it.
The thing about the fabric too was it was up on a high shelf, and it was covered in plastic wrapping, and the plastic itself was filthy.
Dirty, right.
So it looked like, oh God, it just looked horrible. But I peeked through it because I'm like, fabric sells. Right. We've been selling fabric like crazy. And if you can sell huge amounts of it, you can sell it for hundreds of dollars.
That's the story of a find. It's kind of like how hunters probably talk. It's when they talk about hunting at deer,
but it's true.
Thrill of the hunt.
It was thrilling. It was thrilling because the funny thing was, I think we might have told this story before, but people when they saw what we had, there were other customers like, where'd you get that? Is there more of that? I was like, nope, I got it all. Yep. And I was like, get me out of here so fast, because all the cashiers were like, we can't sell this to you. This is way too nice. And we were kind of pushy about it.
Well, yeah, I guess they felt like they hadn't priced it correctly, but that's what the price was. So, anyway, so it was a very good week for us. We did sell a lot of high dollar items, but again, most of what we did sell, though, were $30 items. Yeah. And I always have to stress that even though people don't like to talk about those kind of sales, those are the sales that are going to drive at your store. These high dollar sales are the fun ones to talk about because you make such it's profit.
Yeah, those are the boosters. They boost your store, like you could sell one item and make your daily limit, and you're like, awesome, but that doesn't happen every day.
But we probably sold $30 items, things between $20 and $40, and so that's really the thing. So it's all a numbers game. You got to list. So if you aren't a listing, then you're not going to make any money.
That's right. And speaking of that, I've been going on a listing spree.
That's right.
This week, although today I didn't really list that much. But last week I had 3 days in a row of listing over 30 things because we're going to be traveling soon, and I just have folders and folders of stuff ready to list. And I just put my head down, made a cup of coffee, and was like, don't distract me. I'm not going shopping. I'm not, I'm not doing anything but this.
Yeah, I mean, if you read any of the other eBay bloggers out there, that's the one thing they always talk about is how do you list more, and it's talking about turning off your social media.
Turn off Twitter.
Turn off your phone. But really, it's just, you just got to put your head down.
It really is just all about sitting at your desk and not being OCD.
Right. And then I've been doing that's part of my job is taking photos of everything. And so our house for the past 6 months has been a little bit like an antique junk shop. Just everywhere you look, there are piles of stuff, and so we decided this is no way to live. This is really disgusting.
You're disgusting.
And so we got a storage space to hold items that we hadn't listed yet. And then I've been taking pictures of a lot of stuff, and we are almost have every single eBay thing out of our house. And our goal is just to not have any eBay stuff in our house,
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky because we have other places to work. We have an office building It's
like a guest
building
house.
We converted, to be an office. Not everyone can do that because they do their eBay stuff out of the house, but we are pretty large sellers.
Right, but I mean, also we have a small home, so we don't have extra bedrooms. We basically have a 1-bedroom house. So it's like a little cabin. Yeah. So stuff just ends up in the floor in the middle of the house. So that's been our goal, and that's because eBay allows us to live this kind of wacky life that we would like to live, and we're going to be on the road basically half of August, half of September,
and then all of October.
So really, it's like we're trying to get as much eBay in as possible, and then to keep our store open while we're gone.
Although I will say this, because during our travels, we will be able to list, and if we are committed to keeping our store open, that's a good thing. You can work on the road as long as you're telling people we're on the road.
Right. And that's the other thing, this is called eBay Scavengers, because really it's all about scavenging. I mean, eBay is just a site that allows us to sell stuff. I mean, it could be Etsy. If there was some other store, Amazon, that let it sell this stuff. But it's all about scavenging. So a lot of stuff we sold this week, too, was from a yard sale that we went to up in Boston. We were visiting Ryan's sister, and we woke up on a Saturday, walked down to get some coffee, and we walked by a yard sale. And this couple had all this
amazing stuff.
And we did what we always do. We like to make piles because we find people give us better deals if we buy in bulk. Because they just want to get rid of stuff.
They're like, great, you're taking all this away.
And she was like, we'll give you all of this for $10.
And what was so funny is the boyfriend, we had this one item that was kind of a big item, and I was like, Jay was like, how much for this? And he's like, $10. So we piled that with the pile of the girlfriend stuff, and then the girlfriend came over and said, just give me $10 for all of it. And we were like, what?
They were happy, and we've already made $400,
and that's just half the stuff.
Right, and it was shoes. It was these Persian rugs.
Those 2 rugs. It was a practice bike stand.
It was like a stationary bike stand.
Yeah, for like track bikes. So, I'm just shipping that out.
And this is something we talked about when we had when this happened. Was we always question if we're crazy because we have to mail all that stuff.
We had to ship it home. Yeah.
So we spent like $40 to ship these 2 or 3 big boxes home, but it's worked out. It's been great.
Well, what's so funny is, and my sister's hilarious because she's a total scavenger for artwork and clothes and like furniture. Like she totally is. But she thought we were crazy. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is more than $500 worth of stuff just at the tiny yard sale next door."
Yeah.
So crazy.
I mean, like we always say, though, for every one awesome yard sale or auction or find at a Goodwill, we have to go to 10 other ones that are mediocre.
Yeah, there's nothing.
But really, you can always find something to sell. And I think what I always tell people is that we really don't specialize in anything. The important thing for us is we can get it for cheap. So we're looking for things that cost $1, a couple dollars, or if we really invest $10 or $20, it's got to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's really it's what it is. So it will basically sell anything if it's the right price.
If it's the right price and if we're willing to ship it. Although you and I are pretty much willing to ship almost anything at this point. Speaking of which, we've been putting furniture up.
Right.
We put up a big wardrobe, which I talked about last week, and then I put up an old-fashioned 1900s treadle sewing machine.
Right.
Which I originally bought for myself. And I am terrible at sewing with this sewing machine. I can't do it.
Right.
But some people can.
Yep.
Or they want it for decoration.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we kind of bought it. It's for our homesteading life, and it just hasn't really worked out.
Because you don't need electricity to use it.
Right. So we just. But this is our experiment: we put these big pieces of furniture up, and right now we have it up for a local pickup, or we list shipping companies that people can call and figure it out themselves. We kind of borrowed that technique from some other sellers that we saw online that did that, and people are watching it, and we'll see if people actually buy this furniture.
Yeah.
Because we have it up for $500 for the big...
$600 for the wardrobe.
And then the other, sewing machine.
I have it up for a lot, but I have best offer on it. Do I have best offer? I don't know. I put a high price on that.
So anyway, I mean, I hope people listening just understand it's really about trying things out.
That's the thing. It's an experiment. And something that Jay said that I thought was really funny this week is he's like, if one of those pieces of furniture sells, we're going into the furniture business.
Seriously.
And primarily because so many people do not buy that stuff at auctions or flea markets because it's a pain.
Right.
That wardrobe is massive. It doesn't even fit in our house. That's how massive it is. But someone else somewhere wants it, I hope.
So we just have to see if someone will come out to our rural town, because we live about an hour and a half from the next biggest urban area. But people go antiquing, people look, I mean...
Or if someone's got enough money, they'll freight it to New York or something, you know?
Right. So that's the whole thing, is just finding things cheap and selling them as high as you can. And really, like we always say, it's kind of this positive reinforcing cycle, you know. Selling on eBay allows us to not work full-time jobs, so we have time, and then having time allows us just to have a lifestyle where we're always just out and about doing things that we want to do, but we're also scavenging as well. And without that, though, we couldn't do this. Like, if we didn't have this much time, we couldn't find the things we do, because if we were having to shoehorn in 2 hours a week for eBay, I mean, it just wouldn't work, because where are you going to scavenge enough stuff?
Right.
You know?
And the beauty of scavenging, too, is that the whole idea of being a scavenger is finding stuff that no one around you thinks is interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of specialize in.
Right. And, I think, too, this podcast is me and you, it's Ryan and Jay, and then Mikey and Wendy, and I think that's kind of didn't happen by accident. I think being a couple helps, because I think it'd be very hard to do this by myself, to do every single aspect of it. And in the next episode, we're actually going to talk about its process from beginning to end. And really, if it wasn't two of us doing this, I just think I'd get burnt out, I'd get bored. Yeah. I'd be much, much slower.
Yeah. Well, that's what's interesting is I was talking to my mom, and she's an eBay seller, as we actually interviewed her a couple of episodes ago, and she was so cute. She was like, "Oh, Mark," that's her husband, "Mark just started measuring coats. I can't believe it." Like, it's such a huge help to have someone else do half of it. It's like, you're like, oh, I don't have to think about that,
And I guess having kids, I I wonder what it'd be like having teenage kids. Like, we actually got a message from someone in Australia.
Yeah, Sharon and Sam in Australia sent us a note.
And they left a good note, and we'll link to their store on the blog this week. And just they have a cool store. They're in Australia. It looks like they live in kind of a rural area too. And the funny thing is, it looks like, I'm guessing, it might be their daughter.
Their teenage daughters modeling their clothes.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, but they talk about, it sounds like they're kind of homesteading and kind of just living the life too.
I would love to know what it's like to be an eBay seller in Australia.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they must be selling to a lot of people in Australia. I wonder if they're selling to people in the U.S. Like, who's their customer base?
Well, yeah, I'd love to hear about if anyone that hears this is in Australia, because a lot of Americans, I know we sell a lot to Australia. I mean, people buy the wackiest stuff, like these like trucker hats and like coats.
Anything. They buy tons of stuff that you're like...
And we always wonder, like, can't you buy that stuff like in Australia? It's like...
Either you can't, or it's really expensive. Or the other thing too is I noticed, I think, and someone should correct me on this, I don't think Australia has an import fee like the UK and Canada. So that helps with shipping.
But yeah, and I guess too, as we've always said, you have to remember that America is exotic to other people.
Yeah.
So,
and vice versa.
Yeah, right. So, there are things that Americans buy that they think are really exotic and cool, and Americans have that too, and that's like these trucker hats with like these weird patches and work clothes and these things that just don't exist in London, I guess.
I mean, I noticed when we were in Australia, we traveled there for our other work, these guys were all wearing these like work clothes, like neon vests with like reflective stuff. But then I started noticing like just regular people were wearing that stuff because it was like cool to look like a worker. I was like, oh, that's weird. That's funny. So like that's different than here.
Yep. Cool. So the next episode, Ryan and I are going to talk about, because we've had several questions about how to take photos and how to crop and where to put the photos and then how to list faster. So we just thought, let's just cut to the chase, do an episode where we talk about our process from beginning to end, finding an item to getting it online and selling it.
And how we split it up as two people doing it.
And maybe it's next week Mikey and Wendy can do the same thing, because everyone has their own process. Our process is not something that everyone needs to do, but you can use ours as an example and go from there.
Okay. Thanks, Jay.
Bye, Ryan.